Hello and welcome to Tomorrow Means Nothing. I'm Brad, and I'm going to be reviewing the Black Country New Road gig at Brudenell Social Club at Leeds that happened as I'm recording yesterday. It was sold out, 22nd of March 2022 for all future listeners. Funny thing about this gig, it was on at the same time as Porridge Radio, which I was quite disappointed by, considering that I wanted to go see them as well. But alas, I could only see one, as it does my budget allow. So Black Country New Road it is. This is of course where they are debuting entirely new material after their previous vocalist Isaac Wood. He left at the beginning of this year, quite quickly after their second album. So it was a bit of a fascinating one, this one. So before we go into that though, let's have a look at the support act with the excellently named Platonica Erotica. It was like a three-piece, essentially. So one vocalist, a bassist, and a drummer. The vocalist also played keyboards. Played keyboards quite well, in fact. Worth pointing that out. They haven't released an album yet. Got a couple of EPs. I went in completely blind, as I tend to do, because I always tend to forget to listen to the support act before I go to a gig. But regardless, that's fine. But I was really, really surprised at how good these songs were. I mean, it didn't sound like your traditional sort of support group. You sort of always have this image in your head of what a support group, sort of the songs that they play. They're still sort of getting used to how they're doing. But she sounded like she'd been gigging for years. It was really, really well polished. The songs are all really, really strong. Considering that they're only a three-piece, the sound that they got was really quite full, quite quite a bold synth sound that she got out of the old keyboards, and of course the bassist and drummer, they excellent rhythm section. They made sure everything was running as clockwork, as it should. So all the songs were excellent. She had a very good voice, and I'm sort of looking at my notes here, so if you hear a slight pause, that's me looking at my notes. The lyrics were excellent as well. The lyrics were fantastic. It felt she was born in LA, as I found out just prior to recording this. But the lyrics felt like sort of in keeping with this sort of modern wave of young British bands, sort of the very sort of complex, wordy lyrics about all sorts of different things, both mundane and grand, and it's all very, very good, and it's sort of really sort of witty. I think that's the word I'm looking for, witty. So yeah, very sort of British style to them is what I've put down here. And the great thing is they fit really well with the vibe. As I say, it's sort of very British style to them. So it's sort of melded really sort of nicely onto Black Country New Roads, sort of letting everybody sort of build up their excitement, getting their ears ready for sort of something similar that they're going to listen to later on, which is always excellent. It's the last thing you want is for a support group to sort of roll up on stage and you think, okay, this is not quite what I'm here to see, and then everything sort of, it takes twice as much effort for the main band to get the crowd up and going, but everybody was just here for Platonica Erotica. It was just, yeah, everybody was very excited, and the applause that they got at the end of each song was great. It was really good. So yeah, certainly one to watch. It's certainly worth seeing if you ever get the chance to. Yeah, looking forward to anything that they produce in the future, especially a debut album. If they manage to translate the live show over to it, it would be spot on. I reckon that, yeah, certainly one to watch. Cool. So let's have a look now at Black Country New Road set, the great mystery set, because of course, as I said before, they're not playing any of the songs from the first two albums, which is absolutely understandable, considering that the lyrics are very sort of individualistic to Isaac Wood's sort of vocal style and his lived experience and things like that, and it wouldn't feel sort of the same level of authentic that it should do, that it would give the songs justice. So the very first sort of thing that I noted down that I sort of remember very vividly is the drummer sort of squeezing past halfway through the crowd, going up to the bar, and then returned with a bottle of wine with the cork unscrewed, which was quite good. I haven't seen anything quite like that. I feel like I've lived a sheltered life now that I'm saying that, but I thought it was quite indicative of the band. So it was quite good. I very much enjoyed that. Good bit of warm up for, I don't know, for myself to get into the humour of the situation. I have no idea. I enjoyed that. I don't know why I enjoyed that. But yeah. So that was about 5 minutes before they entered the stage. If ever been to the Brudenell Social Club, it was in the main room of that with sort of 2 levels, sort of the floor level with sort of sofas all around the outside. So if people want to sit down and things like that, or they want a break from the often quite chaotic centre, that's where they go. It's the sound that they get there is really, really good. It's such a crisp sound that they get. Nothing's really that muddy. You can always sort of tell what instrument's playing at any given point, which is what, from personal preference, that's what I like to hear. I like to know what's going on. It's a beautiful venue. It's one of my favourites. Cool. The opener was a proper banger. It was a real sort of, went really heavy with it. Everybody was sort of playing as loud as they could to get everybody warmed up. Nobody knew the song. Everybody was jumping along to it. It was quite something to see. And that's kind of put to bed any sort of, not reservations, but sort of concerns about sort of what sort of sound are they going to do. Are they going to veer drastically off track? No, this was a Black Country New Road, but like a short Black Country New Road banger. It felt sort of, in comparison to their other tracks on the previous 2 albums, this one felt quite short. I wasn't sure whether I was just enjoying it a lot, but it was just, it was a really sort of quick, bouncy, right, here we are, let's get going. Yeah, the other songs were your traditional length, I would say. The one that followed that was a sort of a 3-piece, I think. Yeah, sort of a 3-piece. Sort of a 3-piece. Like a. I don't know. I'm not sure whether it was the vocals were mixed quite low. That's something that I didn't quite enjoy, so I couldn't really hear the lyrics. But it's sort of 3-piece, sort of naturey thing. Like the first one was called Robin, the last one was called Deer. Part 3, Deer. There was a bit of an intro as well, which was quite interesting. Yeah, it was sort of nice little, very musical piece. I know it sounds strange me saying that sort of regarding music, but it's sort of very melodic, sort of all sort of different bits focusing on each sort of section of the band. So there was like a flute section, pianos sort of on the keyboard. It was all sort of quite fascinating, and sort of watching them all sort of play off each other. Very nice. That one was led by the keyboardist, who was May Kershaw, and yeah, she has got sort of the more sort of traditional sort of well-sung singing voice. And if we sort of look at sort of how they've sort of filled the void with their sort of main vocalist leaving, they've essentially used their strengthening numbers to sort of go sort of Sonic Youth style, is what I thought at the time. Sort of each track seemed to have its own sort of songwriting lead, and that person would then sing the lyrics that they wrote for that song, which is quite a nice way of doing it when you've got such a large lineup. And it felt like it sort of shrunk down the band. Sort of, I remember seeing them at the Mercury Prize, I think it was last year, and they took up sort of a huge amount of the stage, and there were so many of them, and it sort of felt like it was such a big band. Now it just sort of feels a lot more sort of cozy. You feel like you're getting to know each of the band members through the songs that they're playing. And I found that sort of quite a nice touch, for sort of a nice solution for this void that they needed to fill. It was really quite a nice idea just to include everybody in, because between them all, they could have easily put down a single vocalist. None of the vocals were weak in any sort of stretch of the imagination. I was quite angry at how good all these people are at playing their instruments and singing and songwriting. They're all immensely talented. And they could have easily just put somebody, just set up somebody at the front and saying, right, you're our new front person, away you go. No, they've just done it a really clever way, and I found that sort of the most exciting thing about this new formation of the band. It was fascinating. It was really sort of enticing and enthralling to watch them all play off each other, as I said before. So there was 3 vocalists at the time of the concert. So there was Tyler Hyde, the bassist. She sort of took most of the lead. Her vocal style is quite similar to Isaac Wood's. It sort of felt a nice sort of continuation from his work with the band previously. Then, of course, I mentioned May Kershaw, who was on keyboards and the accordion, which I found absolutely fascinating. I've never heard an accordion quite sound as good as that. But she has got such a strong voice on her. Excellent. And Lewis Evans, the saxophonist and flutist, he seemed really nervous. Bless him. He seemed really nervous when it came to his second song. But I mean, you can hardly tell once he gets up and going. He's excellent, and he had no reason to be nervous at all. I was very sort of impressed with his work. It just superb, and literally nothing marred, no sort of nervous energy that the whole band seemed to sort of have at the time. I'm not sure whether that's me sort of projecting or anything like that, but it seemed a little bit of nerves, but you could not tell in the playing. Good Lord, you could not tell in the playing. It was superb, absolutely fantastic. All of them are just at the top of their game, and it's nothing can seemingly stop them from that. Georgia Ellery, who is on violin, she had at least one song that was mentioned. Those vocal duties were taken over by Hyde, so she took over from her. But she wasn't there because, of course, she's touring with Jockstrap at the moment. So that sort of explains that. There was only a couple of things that I thought were missing from the concert. Well, not so much missing as... Well, one was missing. One, just a slight sort of interesting point. I'll go to that interesting point first. The lyrics, coming from the high watermark of Isaac Wood's work, it's tricky to sort of compare them. They're not as good. They're still really good. But they're not as good as Wood's sort of very personal and sort of deeply sort of cerebral lyrics. So that's a slight thing just to keep an eye out for. But that'll of course come with time, and with 4 different lyricists as well. It'll be interesting to see how well they combine on an album. As I say, the vocal mixing was a little bit too quiet, so I couldn't quite keep track of the lyrics during the more raucous sections. And I feel like they're missing a song that can adequately close a set like you would hope a Black Country New Road set would be closed. I'm talking like Basketball Shoes or Opus, things like that. Something big raucous, something to get the crowd up and lively and to tire them out by the time they go out the door, so much so that they can't walk back to the cars. So something like that. I feel those are the only sort of couple of things that are really missing from this. Other than that, I think I mean, don't get me wrong, this is still 100% Black Country New Road at their best. You don't want to miss them. If they come near you, just go and see them. Don't worry about whether you don't know the songs or anything. The audience took the songs straight to heart. We got very excited over them. Cheered twice as long and twice as loud at the endings and the false endings. It was just a really good crowd to be a part of, and all the songs were great. You can't say that none of the songs were good. They were all fantastic. I feel that the growers, like I found that Answer 'Em Up There was a bit of a grower album for me. But these songs sort of hit me in a very sort of similar way. So I'm sure once I get an album and I hear them a few times, I'll absolutely love it. But yeah, they all hit. You know that the Black Country New Road songs, and you know the good songs straight away. And I think that's the most important thing when you're coming into a strange old gig like this after hearing none of the songs. So, in conclusion, go and see them. The future's bright. They know what they're doing. They've filled that void beautifully. They're doing exactly what we'd all hope they would, and sort of bounce back from this sort of little speed bump in their journey. They're all fantastic. Sort of musically, the songwriting's strong. It's just a good performance to witness. I think that is it. So, do you know all the things that YouTube wants you to do? Sort of the subscribes, the bell, the like, the comment. I mean, just let me know what sort of bands you want me to cover, because I'm more than happy to listen to any suggestions or recommendations. I can maybe tailor the review section around that. There may not be a review this weekend just because of absolutely mountains of technical issues getting this video up. Laptop dying, internet going out, losing half the audio. Yeah, it's been a real sort of roller coaster, but if a roller coaster only goes down. So there may not be a review this weekend, but I will try my hardest to make sure there's plenty of content going out on this channel. So make sure you subscribe and keep up to date with everything. Of course, there's the social medias as well. So thank you for listening. I've been Brad. This has been Tomorrow Means Nothing, and I will see you next time.